Alright, so we're going to do a pork satay stew tonight. Like as some in Filipino they call it Kare Kare. But what we're going to do here is I got some pork ribs. I got the butcher to cut them into inch pieces, which is quite nice, so like short ribs. I'm going to put them in a pot on the stove just to bring the quick boil. First bubble, just like that, I'm going to pour that water out because it pulls a lot of the fat right to the top. You see the fat there? You don't want it to bubble rapidly at this point. So I'm going to pour all the water out. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take some of the meat out. So I'm going to use half of this for the kare kare dish. The other half I'm going to braise for the barbecue, right? So we're going to peel some ginger. You know that great way to peel ginger? With a spoon, just give it a few scrapes and it's all good to go. And we're going to peel up the ginger and I'm going to put the ribs right into the pot. So I've got half my ribs. I got about 2 pounds, 2.5, maybe 3 pounds of ribs here. I got my ginger chopped roughly. You don't need to dice any of these vegetables up we're putting in here because I'm going to blend all this afterwards as part of that sauce. So I got some rosemary. I'll put a bit of thyme in here as well. So we've got the onions, rosemary, thyme, ginger. I'm going to cover it just so it's covered with chicken broth. I'm going to cut up some pumpkin. We're going to put some pumpkin in the mix. The pumpkin is going to break down and add to this lovely sweet flavor when we put the peanut butter in it. Some garlic, and these are those cubanella peppers. I love these cubanella peppers, right? So we're just going to give them a quick rough chop and then throw them into the pot and cook them all up together. Now, this dish traditionally has some long beans, so I got some long beans. Got these cubanellas up quickly here. And that's 2 whole cubanella peppers, right? And put that in the pot with the squash. So the long beans here, now what I'm just trim off the ends. And we're going to cut them into, I'm not going to cut them too small. I mean, it's nice and it's kind of cool how long they are. But if you leave them this long for the dish, it's hard to eat. So I'm just going to cut them 3 times. And we're going to put that in at the very end, right? So some thyme in there as well. Now we're going to let this simmer here. We're going to let it cook for about an hour. Just want to cook down the juice. Now it's an hour later. I'm going to take the pork's pretty tender, right? I'm going to take the pork pork ribs right out of the pot here. So what I want to do, I'm going to blend all that liquid up, and we're going to make this into our satay sauce, okay? So blend it all up so all the vegetables are chopped fine. So it's a nice smooth, almost like a puree, like a soup. When it's pureed nicely, then we would put the peanut butter in. Right? So I got some Kraft peanut butter here. And, you can always use nuts and make up your own peanut butter, but I'm going to get that in there. I'm going to use 1/3 of this tub of peanut butter, nice and peanutty. So I'm going to mix it in nicely. And just give it a good mix before you put the ribs in. It's easier to mix the sauce and then put the ribs in than to put the ribs in and start mixing the sauce up. That's half a teaspoon of sesame oil to give a nice little sesame flavor, and some salt, some cracked black. Got to do the cracked black. Alright, so now once that's all in there, it's cooking away. We put the ribs in. And it's going to braise it a little bit, get it nice and hot. Because we're going to put into this, we're going to put in those beans, right? So I want to make sure this is get it bubbling nicely so we get the beans in there. So I'm going to put it back onto a medium heat and bring it up to a boil. And a little bit thick, so I'm going to add some chicken broth. Then we're going to put some mushrooms in here as well. And then chopped coriander goes right in the end. So put the mushrooms in at the same time with the beans. We're going to let that cook for about 5 minutes. Then we're going to mix in the coriander and it's good to go. Really nice peanutty flavor with this dish. So those mushrooms are in there and the coriander. And let's bring it back to the boil so it's nice and hot. You know, fresh coriander, any fresh herbs always make things fresher. That's what fresh stuff does. So we put the coriander in there, chop it up, give it a mix right in the end, right before serving. And that's the way we like to do it. Looking yummy. Oh, this coriander smells so good, especially when you chop it up. And we mix it in, and then we serve it. And that is Kare Kare, the way I like to do it. Or satay. The peanuts give it a nice flavor. Something a little bit different, cooking with peanut butter. And that's what I like to do dinner for 2. And at Chef Warren's house. And we'd love to get some feedback from you guys. If you try any of these recipes, post some pictures and tell me you use one of my recipes. I'd love to hear that. All right, happy cooking.